And distinguished guests, facilitator, partners, and our incredible educators joining us from Karu and beyond Karu, all over Nigeria, and those who are streaming and listening to us from anywhere in the world. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are. It is with deep gratitude and unwavering excitement that I welcome you all to the Teachers Training 2025, a 3-day virtual capacity building program powered by Discover Purpose Initiative in collaboration with Karu Local Government, Area, Nasarawa State, and other partners. This training is more than an event. It is a movement, a bold step towards equipping educators with the tools, mindset, and confidence to thrive in today's dynamic classroom environment. Our team, Empower the 21st Century Educators, Innovate, Include, and Inspire, speaks to the heart of our mission to build a future where education is transformative, inclusive, and purpose-driven. We understand the challenges teachers face daily. That is why this training focuses not only on new teaching strategies, but also on building emotional intelligence, inclusive classroom, and strong leadership. I must extend special appreciation to our partners, especially the local governments under the leadership of the executive chairman and deputy chairman, for their belief in the vision and their commitment to grassroots empowerment and impact. To our world-class facilitators, Mrs. Anom Nse and Gobi Daniels from Nigeria, thank you for answering the call to invest in our local heroes, our teachers. Your expertise is a gift to us, and we do not take it for granted. Thank you very much. So, to our teachers, this is your space. Engage, learn, reflect, and grow. You are not just participants, you are pillars of development and agents of change in our communities. At Discover Purpose Initiative, we remain fully committed to programs that unlock potentials, inspire leadership, and drive impact, not just in education, but across all sectors of development. Thank you very much and welcome once again to a training that promises to empower, enlighten, and equip. Thank you very much. Mr. Gobi Daniels, I don't know if you are ready now. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Godfrey, for this opportunity. And I want to say a very big thank you to everyone that is on the call. Thank you so much, my co-facilitator as well. Such an honor to catch up with you on this space. We're going to be discussing a subject that is very close to my heart. One that I believe, if most teachers in our schools are able to get this, it will turn around the trajectory of education, the reality of kids in our various schools. Today, we're looking at differentiated instructions in diverse classrooms. And the aim of this session is to give you an understanding of why it's important to always tweak lessons, to always ensure that the learners that are in your various classrooms, you are able to tailor the lessons that you have to meet the needs of each and every learner. Because the truth is, all the kids you have in your classrooms, they are not all at the same learning abilities. They do not understand at the same level. They do not interpret concepts at the same level. So it takes time for each and every one of them to be able to understand exactly where they are or what you're doing or what you're teaching them. Right. So that's what we're looking at today, just to help you understand how to be able to differentiate lessons, to present lessons in a way that every other person or every kid in the class, regardless of their learning ability, they'll be able to understand exactly what you're teaching them and make the most of their academic journey. So that's what we're looking at this morning. So, like he has mentioned, my name is Gobi Daniel. I'm a community manager for T4 Education. T4 Education is a UK-based education nonprofit. We provide professional development opportunities for teachers around the world. We also do quite a bit. We have prizes for schools and a few other initiatives that we get to pioneer to ensure that kids in every part of the world have access to education. And part of also what I do is what I'm doing right now. We do teacher trainings. And then if I'm not doing what I'm doing right now, you will catch me talking to young people about relationship and personal development as well. And I'm the author as well of Love's Twists and Turns. That's just a brief about me. So in today's session, we're basically going to be looking at what differentiation is, what is a differentiated instruction, what does that mean, why is it important, and some of the low tech strategies that you can use to implement differentiation in your classrooms. And then to also give examples and then some tips here and there that I believe will be of great help to you in your journey as you know ensure that your kids get the exact information they want at their own pace, at their own level of understanding. Now, one thing I'd like us to know is that the classrooms that you have, or that particular class that you are superintending over, you have kids from everywhere. You have kids that learn very quickly at the speed of light. You have kids that would struggle to understand English. You have kids that have a problem with mathematics. You have kids that maybe their parents are not doing so well, and that is causing some sort of emotional trauma that you may not even aware of. You have kids that are hungry. You have kids that are exhausted. So you have all of this category of pupils in your classroom. And what will work, the strategy that will work for a kid that has no problems, is not hungry, is well fed at home, coming to school to enjoy himself, just having a good time with his studies. The strategy that would work for that particular kid will be very different from the one that is struggling to speak English, the one that is still trying to understand what come means, what go means, or what sit down means. The strategy would definitely not be the same for that kind of a kid. And then you also have kids that they are very intelligent, but then they're also very shy. So you have kids like that as well in your classrooms who are not very expressive, right? But then they know it, but they are super shy to talk about what they know. So you have kids like that in your classrooms as well. So if you have this array or different sets of kids in your classroom, it will be unfair for you as a teacher to teach in a way that benefits only a particular set of kids in the class. And there's always this temptation to want to, get carried away with the excitement of the kids that are doing very well, the superstars in the class. Those ones that are answering questions, they are always the ones giving you that energy. And you forget the fact that there are others who are also there that are struggling. So sometimes we're tempted to pay attention to the ones that always have their hands up. Yes, it's me. Let me answer it. Let me be the one to respond. Let me be the one to answer. We're tempted to focus on those category of kids in the classroom, the superstars, those ones that when you just ask a question, their hands are up. There's always the temptation to focus on those ones. But the truth of the matter is, the moment you focus on kids like that, at the expense of the ones that are still struggling or trying to find their footing, you do them such a great disservice. Right. And that's why differentiation is super important in the classroom. Now, what is differentiated instructions? What does it mean? So, when we say differentiation in the classroom, what are we talking about? Well, it simply means planning and teaching in a way that meets the different needs of the pupils that you have in your classroom. What this means is that your lessons are tailored in such a manner that the guys that are fast learners, they are carried along. The ones that are slow learners are carried along. The ones that, you know, you will have to bring all manner of instructional materials to the classroom, they are also carried along. So it's your duty as a teacher for you to be able to just understand where your kids are and be flexible with your lesson. There are times that when you're teaching, you can gauge the energy in the room. Whether all the kids are following, you can tell. If they are not following, you can tell as well. So just gauging the energy in the room and understanding whether or not to stop explaining at that point and get some instructional aids, or to stop just explaining it works and just get them to do hands-on activities while you explain. So that flexibility is super important, because if you stand at the end of the day, like we always do, sometimes we do, we say, oh, at the end of this lesson, kids should be able to do XYZ. And then we just write that, but at the end of the day, the kids are not able to do the XYZ that was stated in the lesson plan. And it's not a problem, but it ought not to be so, you know. So differentiation is simply saying that for whatever lesson you're teaching, whether it's addition, whether it's subtraction, whatever it is you're teaching, you should be tailor it in such a way that the kids in your classroom will be able to understand that this is exactly what you're doing, right? This is where they are. They should understand from their own plane. So the ones that do not understand, for instance, if you're giving an example of objects that fly in the air, and then you are saying something like B2 Spirit Bomber, the kids in your class, some of them have never seen an aeroplane before, let alone a fighter aircraft. So what happened to the bird that they know? In the north where I live, they call it bebela. So if you're giving an example, for instance, the bebela that they know, what happened to the bebela? Instead of saying a B2 Spirit Bomber jet, they don't know that, right? So differentiation is simply saying that your lesson should be tailored in such a way that the fast learners in your class will understand, the slow learners in your class will understand. Wherever they are in the learning pyramid, they are able to grasp what you're teaching, right? So that's what differentiation is about. So one thing you must realize is that differentiation is fairness and not favoritism. What does this mean? It means that when you see yourself always trying to ensure that the least person, forgive my choice of words, yeah, I'm just trying to describe this, but the kid that you think is not, this one is too slow, but you pay so much attention to that same kid simply because you know very well that it's not favoritism, it is differentiation at work. It is you saying that no kids, uh sorry, someone saying I'm muted. I'm not sure what's going on. Please, can you still hear me?
We can hear
If you
you. We
can
can
hear
hear
me, please
you.
let me know.
We can hear you.
Okay, okay. Yes, so if you see yourself in that spot where you are constantly ensuring that the least person in class, forgive my choice of word now, is able to understand the topic. It's not you trying to do favoritism. No, it's differentiation at work. Because differentiation says that no kid gets left behind, regardless of their learning abilities. No kid gets left behind. Right. So you realize that every child is different. Every child is different. We learn differently, we talk differently, we understand things differently, and all that. So every child is different. Now, because of this differentiation, and the fact that every child is different, our lessons cannot be tailored in the same way for all kids. It will not work like that. The second thing is that one method doesn't work for every kid. So the way you would teach addition to high flyers, to those kids that when you just explain, they understand. If you use that same strategy, if you use that same lesson plan to teach a kid that is kinesthetic in their learning, or maybe one that just enjoys hands-on activity, and you want to only explain, they will not understand it. But is it because they are dull? No, it's because of the method that you're using to deliver the lesson. So you have visual learners in the class, you have auditory learners in the class, and you have those that are super kinesthetic. Visual learners, when you show pictures, they understand better. Auditory learners, it's okay for you to explain and they get it. There are others that are kinesthetic. If they don't touch it, if they don't feel it, if they don't get involved in that process, they will never understand what you're teaching them. So if you tailor your lesson in such a way that only auditory learners can benefit from it, you're not being fair to them. You're not being fair to the kinesthetic learners in your classroom. You're not being fair to the auditory learners in your classroom. So different strategies or lesson ought to be a combination of both. Now, differentiation, what it also does is that it helps every child to feel seen and supported. Every child feels like they're a part of the class. No sidelining, no name calling, nothing. We're just a community of people learning together. So nobody asks a question and then other kids are allowed to laugh or make a mockery of anybody. No, your classroom is such a safe space where everybody feels seen, heard, and appreciated for the efforts they are making in the academic journey. Now, here's an example of what differentiation looks like. Right. So, the first example is that sometimes you get to teach a topic in a certain way, and you see that the kids are not following. You just have to switch it up a bit. You may have to introduce instructional materials at some point. You may have to draw for some to understand. You may have to do role playing for some to understand. There are a host of other things that you need to also do for your kids to understand. Let's say, for instance, you're teaching something like addition, two-digit numbers or one-digit numbers, something like that. You know that if you say 1 plus 1, there are some kids that will tell you two. Others will have to draw one and do plus and do add one again and count it before they understand what 1 plus 1 is. Right. Others you will have to draw, they have to see pictures. Some you may have to say this one mango fruit plus this another this other one another one mango fruit or these two mango fruits plus these three mango fruits. How many mangoes do I have? Or this one orange plus this other two orange, how many do we have? They will need to see it, they will need to feel it, they will need to count it. Now, another way of doing differentiation is to also let the kids to be expressive. There are some that would just want to be creative in the way they respond to questions. So you see them wanting to draw, you see them wanting to scribble things here and there, right? It's their way of expressing what you just taught them. So you need to make room for that level of creativity within your classroom, such that your kids know exactly, so they can interpret it. You're not what's the word now? You're not putting forcing stuff and just allowing them to do cram and pour. No, it's that you're allowing them to express what it is that the understanding of what you've taught them. Differentiation is always the game changer in every and any classroom. Now, you can start your differentiation journey in your classroom as well. And how do you go about it, or what should you do to start this journey of differentiation that we're talking about? You can start with a think, pair, and share activity. Right. Like I just mentioned earlier, I get to pair my kids, right? My kids would sit in clusters, and for every cluster, I will give them task. So the task is not for one person to do, it's for all of them to deliberate and give me a response. So what do you think about XYZ? That particular group, this group, that group. So in the process of them engaging with each other, they are sharing ideas. Those ones that are reserved are also contributing. So everybody is talking. And that way you're also helping those ones that are a bit reserved to come out of their shells. Right. The second thing is you can give them the same task but different support. So for other kids, it's okay to say, okay, open your book and write this. What is 2 plus 2? What is 3 plus 3? Right. For others, you may have to give them bottle corks.
Okay.
Some you may need to
Okay.
put sticks on their desk for them to be able to count and say, this plus this is this. I used to have a special needs kid in my class. Right. And then this particular kid would, I mean, he was always just the one that would draw things. So if you tell him 1 plus 1, he will have to draw human heads or draw a boy, 2 boys in his book and draw another two. And then you call me closer to say this plus this plus this. We'll count it together and arrive at the answer. So different strategies for different kind of kids. But if you do not pay attention, you may never understand. And this thing I'm saying, I know somebody is saying, ah no, but I have 50 kids in my class. This differentiation work in my class of 90 in a public school at the time as well. So it's a strategy that has worked over time that I'm sharing with you this morning. And then you can also do quick check-ins, right? You can ask randomly to also check to see where your kids are. You know those ones that when you're teaching, their face will tell you whether or not they're understanding. You can pick on some of them randomly like that and just know exactly what's going on with them. And that way you can be able to support them better. One thing that comes to mind every time conversation about differentiation comes to the front burner is we're quick to think technology. Oh no, I don't have the technology, I don't have the gadgets. Differentiation is not about gadgets, it's about strategy. And in the classroom that you have everything you need already. A good way to put differentiation to work is to engage songs and local stories. If I want to teach colors, for instance, I can use songs to represent that. There are kids that sometimes you will need to dance. I mean, I became a musician to my kids, I became a dancer, I became everything so that differentiation can happen in my class. So if I'm teaching fruits, for instance, I cannot just say pawpaw. What happened to pawpaw is a kind of fruit. It sticks faster. So those that struggle to understand what pawpaw is, or may not remember what pawpaw is, if I bring a song or I tell a local story, they'll be able to understand what I'm talking about. You can also use very local examples. So instead of saying using classes of food that are not your kids may not understand. So for instance, you are saying something like salad. Some kids don't know what salad is, but they know what in the north here there's something they call gero gero or couscous or kuli kuli or what is that other thing? Gurasa. Or in the north, there in the east, sorry, in the west, there's something in the east, I beg your pardon, there's abacha. Some very local, relatable examples that your kids can relate with. So you have to use those kind of examples so that those that struggle to understand abstract concepts can make sense of what you were saying. So you need to do engage songs, engage local stories. Of course, you can draw on the board or use cardboard paper. My kids also turned me into an artist. I would cut things, cut papers, cut everything, just to teach them. I remember when I was teaching them how to tell time, I will cut cardboard paper, do a lot of small, small, small clocks that I will take to class to teach them how to tell time. So those are some of the resources that you can use to also to drive home this strategy of differentiation that we're talking about. It is not rocket science at all, you know. And then you can also do group work or pair teaching. You can use bottle cups and all kinds of other hands-on materials that you can find within your neighborhood to be able to ensure that whatever it is that you're teaching, that your kids understand it. So differentiation is not about technology, it's about strategy. And with the right strategy in place, your kids will do wonders. I had a special needs boy in my class at the time. By the time I met the guy, he could not hold his pencil. By the time I was leaving the school, he could write his name on his answer booklet, answer questions in exams by himself, all because of differentiation. So when I finish teaching every other regular kid in the class and they are busy doing the assignment, I give him his own tailored assignment for where he is and his own learning ability. So this is the sacrifice that we must make as teachers if truly we want to bring out the hidden gem or the hidden talent, the hidden capacity that is bottled up within our kids. Now, here's the thing. If differentiation is working in schools around the world, your class can do it as well. Teachers around the world are using differentiation to raise superstars, right? Because, see, what differentiation helps you to do is to take learning to your students in their element. I mean, teaching them the way they love to learn, not the way you want them to learn. And when kids are in their element, when they are learning in and engaging with instructions in a way that is fun and exciting, you have no idea how far your kids will go in ensuring that they make you proud. So it's happening in schools around the world. It can happen in your own classroom. I work with teachers around the world because of my work with the organization that I currently work for. And differentiation is the game changer, right? It has worked in other classrooms. It will definitely work in your classroom. You just have to be flexible. And when you're teaching your kids, you have to observe them. Look in the eyes of your kids. You can spot that child that is confused. You can spot that child that is struggling. You can spot that child that needs extra support. So when you're teaching, you have to be observant because you can tell exactly what's going on in their minds when you're teaching, right? So one thing somebody maybe on this call will be saying at the moment is, this thing is sounding like a lot of work. No, it's not a lot of work. It is smart work. It's a way of making your work and your life easy, right? So differentiation is working in other classrooms. It will work in your classroom as well. So I'll stop at this point and I'll take questions and also ask you this question that is on your screen. So do we have any questions? I'm happy to take questions and then we will do the second part.
All right, guys. Thank you very much, Mr. Gobi Daniels. This is very insightful and it's really packed. So, guys, if you have questions, just raise up your hands. Raise your hands. I'm seeing one hand raised. Oluwa Toby, unmute and ask your question.
My question is
Any
this:
way to keep it?
in secondary
Yeah.
school or at secondary school level, knowing fully that we are teaching adults, and we have curriculums in which has been broken down to simpler units, and there are syllabuses to cover terms. Now, how do we ensure we use differentiation in our class when we have just 40 minutes for that period, and we have a number of topics to cover? Thank you.
Sorry, how many students do you have in your classroom?
I have over 50 students.
Okay. So just like I said, it's actually a question. So when you're doing your lesson plan, for instance, what subject do you teach? Is
Biology.
biology. Let's say you're doing parts of the body. Right. Now, you know very well that, I mean, there are kids that are auditory, students that are auditory learners in your classroom. You have some that are visual learners, some are kinesthetic in nature. So instead of just write the normal lesson plan, come and stand in the class and say parts of the body, we use this one for this, we use that one for that. Why not also incorporate instructional materials in that? So that way, it's easy for you to give a student um, cut something that looks like a head, or cut something that looks like a hand or a finger, or whatever what's it called, resource you want to use. So instead of just talk about it, can you get them involved? And this can happen in the 40 minutes that you have to deliver the lesson. So if I and you don't need to be an artistic person to be able to draw. Sometimes the funniest sketch that you make, I mean, it makes it really interesting for your kids to your students to engage. Now you can cut those into different parts so that by the time you get to that point where you are trying to check for understanding, you can easily just drop cardboards on people's tables, flip them open. What part of the body is that? What is it used for? It's not difficult. So as you're wrapping up the lesson, you're letting them, you are getting them involved. So those that enjoy hands-on activity also have something to hold on to. Those that just want to see visuals, they are also seeing visuals. Those that hear or understand when you only explain, everybody is carried along. I don't know if this gives you a little bit of clarity. Um,
Yeah, I got it, sir.
yes. So, I mean, it's just when you're tailoring your lesson plan, always have at the back of your mind there are visual learners, there are auditory learners, there are kinesthetic learners in your classroom. So this topic I'm about to teach you within this 40 minutes, how do I ensure that everybody is carried along regardless of their learning ability? Always ask yourself that question before you start preparing any lesson. That way you know what instructional material to introduce at what point, all within your 40 minutes. And then to say that you're teaching adults, you don't need to guide that conversation so much before they get it, because at that level, I mean, their mental capacity is not as compared to those that are in lower primary or those that are in nursery school. Yeah, so that's how I would approach it. By the way, I also worked in a public school, so I know exactly what that time restriction is like.
Let's get your question. Carry it.
I think when you were answering the first question, you have in some way answered what I wanted to ask, because the challenge I was looking at before now when you started the differentiation method was this how to maybe modify that techniques to suit a well crowded classroom environment. But you've answered it. You've answered the question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So maybe I should just add, since you have like a crowded classroom, so you can also, so what helps with differentiation in crowded spaces is the seating arrangement as well. So in my school, I don't allow my kids to sit like the normal way you would have desks arranged. So my kids sit in clusters. And then for every cluster is a combination of different learning abilities. Especially if you teach in primary school, this would be of great help to you. So they sit in clusters of maybe 7 or 10 or something like that. So it's easy for me to have a bird eyes view of the entire class and see where everybody is, those who are participating and those who are not. So nobody is hiding in the shadow of another person. So if you want to do differentiated activities, for instance, it's easy for you to move within clusters as against our regular sitting pattern where decks are arranged all the way to the back. And then you just stand there, you don't know what the other person is doing under the decks. No. Yeah, initially it was like, what kind of arrangement is this? I said, let's leave it like this. It's for a purpose. You know, having 90 kids in the class, you definitely don't want them to sit the conventional way. So, yeah. Maybe that could also help you carry it.
All right, exactly like Harriet. I have a question here. So, Caroline say I'm a music teacher and my learners are secondary school students. I have 35 minutes to teach each class per week. I feel differentiated might not work for some subjects, and because I have limited time, just to know if it would work. I don't know if you got the question.
Yeah, again, yes, I got it. So the thing is not take your eyes off the time and look at your lesson plan delivery. Right. So if you take your eyes off the time for a moment and then you look at your strategy for delivery, you'll be able to incorporate differentiation in it. So if you're teaching music, I'm not very familiar with topics in music, but then whatever topic you want to teach, always have at the back of your mind. They are auditory learners, they are visual learners, they are kinesthetic learners. How do I carry these three groups of learning abilities in my classroom in this topic? If you ask yourself that question before you begin your lesson plan, you will find elements of differentiation in your lesson. Right. So if if you do not if you do not make out time, or if you do not ask yourself this question before you start drafting your lesson plan, you will not incorporate that in your lesson. You will just feel like time is not there. Right. So within the same 40 minutes, thank you so much, Mr. Just like you said in the chat, this is not some very huge activity that there are very little additions here and there that helps really for you to be able to do this. So if you start by asking yourself the question of these three categories of people are in this class. So if I was to teach this topic, bearing in mind that there are people that when they only listen, they understand. There are some that will need to see what I'm saying for them to understand. There are some that need to get involved in what I'm saying for them to understand. It will guide you. It will unconsciously just bring differentiation into your lesson delivery. So if you always have this at the back of your mind before you start preparing for your lesson, you will know exactly where to put what. It's not some 20 minutes activity. No. It's just like I was explaining to the other person that asked. I can teach parts of the body, or I can teach colors, for instance. There'll be differentiation within that same 40 minutes of your delivery. Because if I say yellow, they need to see and touch yellow. If I say black, what is black? And there are all kinds of results within the environment that I can use to drive home the points I'm making. So it's really about having it at the back of your mind, and then on account of that, proceeding from there to prepare your lesson. That's how it works. And then you just see exactly what do I add for Ibrahim, that if he doesn't touch what I'll get involved in what I'm saying, he doesn't understand. How do I deliver this to Ibrahim to understand? Or there's Jennifer, that if she doesn't see, she will never believe. How do I get Jennifer on the table? How about this other one that the moment I just start explaining, he's already nodding his head? How do I also get him involved? When you have this at the back of your mind, differentiation will just find its way into your lesson naturally. I hope this helps as well.
I have another question from Oluwatobi. I don't know if it's a question. Okay. He said, you can see it, sir.
Yes, I can see it. So he's saying cluster sitting arrangement seems obtainable only in primary schools other than secondary schools as different teachers come in to teach. Yes, of course. So I know that moving desk here and there may be a little challenging, but as a subject teacher, you already know the kids that or the students that you teach. So at the start of every lesson, there's a lot that you can do, right? There are some students that will never sit in front. There are some that have people that they sit with for different reasons, right? So you just have to be able to just like I said, you need to be observant. So if you notice that there is certain clique of people or clique of students in your classroom that when you're teaching, they are not always getting it.
Give it.
Can you mix that sitting arrangement up when you get into the class? John, come sit here. Jane, go to the back. You come over here. Just for the purpose of your lesson. You don't have to move depth to do that. Right. But you know exactly where your students are. And based on that, you can tell who is where and what is possible for who. And it makes it a lot easy for those that are in secondary school without having to rearrange seats. But in primary school, I would definitely encourage a cluster seating arrangement. There's quite a very striking point that Mr. Anon made in the chat.
Okay.
You know, setting expectations, it's just the way to go. Because when you set the expectations and then they just know that this is our class routine over a period of time, I mean, everybody just knows exactly. So, this teacher, this is what they want each time they come to the class.
Mrs. Nse Anom said, I think their expectations are set and the student understand and have practiced over time the classroom routine. When you come in to teach, your lesson will work. So please adopt that. Then she also said that I think if one would adopt differentiation methods, 40 minutes will not be enough to cover a topic. It, I think this is another person, yeah?
Yes, so here's the thing. So, if you think this is not possible, it's already an impossibility. That's just the truth, right? So, and then as teachers, we should be open to exploring new ideas, right? So, if you're already concluding that this is not going to be possible,
So,
it is not going to be possible, right? So, and that is why, and this is not something we tried in the breeze. Like I said, I taught in a very crowded public school. You know, if you've lived in the north, you understand what I'm talking about. We have numbers of kids that come to school. And then there was a point where it was over 100, and differentiation was happening in the same classroom within the same 40 minutes. You know, so these strategies are not they are not things that are cooked from, just things that have not been experimented. I've tried this, several other teachers are doing it as well, and they are seeing results. So if you are not open-minded to explore it, definitely it will be an impossibility to you. But as teachers, I think we should be open-minded to experiment new ideas. And so maybe when you engage and if perhaps you struggle with it, that's a follow-up conversation that we may need to have subsequently. So yeah, that's what I would say about that.
all right, thank you
Yes,
very
may
much.
I ask a
See,
question?
the thing is that you just need an open mind to do this. So it depends on how you plan. Planning is very key, just like you said. So please, it's very possible. It's something that has been done somewhere. So it's very very possible. Chioma said, how do we handle shy type of students that are smart and intelligent but find it difficult to express themselves? I think I found myself in that situation while in school. So go on, sir.
Yeah, so for kids that are on that spectrum, you have to do a lot of role playing with them, you know, get them involved in activities. So when you ask questions or put them in groups where with those ones that are super energetic and get them to be the ones to contribute from that group, or always give them the opportunity to speak or encourage them to speak, and when they do, ensure that the class applauds them very well. When you do that over a period of time, you will see your kids being able to express themselves. When I first resumed school resumed work in my former school, my kids, all of them, a good number of them didn't understand English. So I stood in the class and I said, "Hello, kids." Everybody was quiet. And then by the time they now started learning to speak English, they became shy. Some of them were very shy to speak English in public. I don't know, ask some of them to come outside or step forward or to say this or to say that. And it was easy for them to just talk. So over a period of time, it doesn't happen overnight. I trust me, it doesn't happen overnight. But when you keep giving them the opportunity, gradually they start coming out of their shells with role playing and then them in activities, definitely they will come out of their shell. And then when they do, please applaud them. Applaud them. So there's this culture in my class, then there's no wrong answer. If anybody gets it, we will celebrate the person. We will clap for the person. And I made them believe that they could conquer the world. I would pump such confidence in my kids that they felt different from every other kid in the room. Right. So, yeah, when you do that over a period of time, your kids will definitely come out of the shells. And, yeah, they'll begin to talk freely.
Okay, I didn't really get this person's question. He said my question is actually based on differentiation. For example, teaching science subjects for SS. Maybe you need some kind of
Mm.
examples. I don't know.
So I'm not, sciences is not my area, but I don't know what those topics are. But within those same topics, like I said, try as much as possible to use relatable examples to communicate whatever concepts that you're trying to communicate. The issue with sciences most times is that the teachers that teach it, they always teach it as some very abstract concept. And that's why a lot of students will struggle with some kind of science topics. But if you bring sciences to their everyday engagement, trust me, their everyday life, they will not forget. So in trying to apply differentiation in the sciences, always use relatable examples. So if you're teaching friction, for instance, are there examples within their environment to use to explain what friction is? If you're explaining gravity, are there examples within the environment that they can relate to? So always have that at the back of their mind. Because the moment you take that topic from an abstract topic to something they can relate with, trust me, there's nothing your kids cannot do. It makes it a lot easier and fun. So yeah, that's how I would approach it with science.
So Mrs. Anom said over here in Texas, we also have about the same amount of time for a lesson, and although we do not have as many students in classroom as in Nigeria, differentiating your instruction is very key. So guys, just like we
Absolutely.
said earlier, you just need an open mind and always relate whatever your topic is. Maybe you have a particular subject. Find real life situations that you could use while engaging your students. Enoch said, I think if we all understand this differentiated method very well as a teacher, it is actually not a problem at all. I'm seeing it from the perspective of a teaching approach, or let me call it an approach of um, pedagogical content knowledge. Once you have it as a teacher, how to deliver it will be a walk in the park. Thank you very much for that contribution.